Hey everyone, we are Harlan and Naya, and welcome to episode 12 of our pop culture series, Riding the Wake. If you're enjoying our content, please like and subscribe, and in the comments below, tell us what movies or shows you might want us to relate to paddling and investing. The zanier, the better. So, we got a couple of zany ones coming to you today, and it was a little difficult to hook these into investing and paddling, but as usual, we nailed it. Our show today is called The Fantastic Proposal. But before we get into that, we're going to let you know what's going on in the SoCal area. So, Naya, what is going on?
Well, Harlan, this Saturday, May 7th, it's the first outrigger race of the season.
Woo!
I'm so happy. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
It's put on.
This is my first outrigger race ever.
What?
Well, yeah.
Well, OC6, right?
Oh, yeah. It's my first OC6. It's my first OC6 race.
Yeah. It's not your first outrigger race.
It's not my first outrigger
ever.
race. No. But it is my first OC6 race to go to. I don't know if I'm going to actually paddle. We'll see. I'm like super new to the OC6, so we'll see. Restrain my enthusiasm a moment here. We'll see if the coach gives me the green light or not.
I'm going to give you the green light. How's that? So it's put up by Hano Hano. There'll be more than 1,500 participants, and yes, that is not a typo. I'm sure that this is information from past entries, and they're hoping for that much. Who will battle in a 6-mile short course or a 10-mile long course in an OC6. If you don't know what that is an outrigger with 6 people in it. So it's kind of,
it's a team boat.
It's a team boat.
It's
or
a
canoe.
team boat. It's long. A canoe's a boat.
It's the boat. So the race will take place at Crown Point Shores Park. Visit www.hanohano.com/Crystal Pier -2.
Oh, actually, it's Crystal Pier 2022. I know they made it really hard for us to say. Or you can just go to www.hanohano.com, and I think there's a link at the top of the page to the Crystal Pier 2022.
I mean, they have to make it complicated for paddlers, right?
Yeah.
To find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, since I did such a wonderful job at that announcement, Harlan, why don't you tell us what else is coming up?
Yeah, so we've got a SUP swap meet happening on May 22nd at West Coast Paddle Sports. So this is kind of half a swap meet, half a sale, and half a dog adoption. There's going to be raffles, there's going to be food, there's going to be entertainment. West Coast Paddle Sports is not paying us to promote this event, but you do work there, right?
I do work there.
You do work there. So, I mean, they're related. And so we love West Coast Paddle Sports. The team over there is fantastic. To find them, we're either look up West Coast Paddle Sports or go to 4360 Morena Boulevard, Morena Boulevard, San Diego, California, 92117. And we're going to be running that from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. May 22nd. And is that a Saturday or a Sunday?
That is a Sunday, I believe.
Oh, really? Okay. So the date is accurate. I don't know if it's a Saturday or Sunday, but probably a Sunday. So you can also go to West Coast Paddle, not West Coast Paddle Sports, but West Coast Paddle on Instagram, or West Coast Paddle Sports on Facebook, and go to their events page and find out more about this fun and chill event. So, Naya, tell us all about the fantastic proposals that we watched since the last time we met.
Yeah, so we both you and I had a very busy couple of weeks since the last time we did podcasts. We had an open house, we had merging two teams together, just a lot of stuff. An Asian Film Festival. So
It's been
but
a long 2 weeks.
it feels like 3 months.
It does. It feels like like a new era today.
Yeah. So between those long 2 weeks that we had, we actually went to go see a movie and watched K-dramas. So the first movie that we went to see was Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. I was so excited to see this movie because I just love Harry Potter. Anything that has to do with that, I am all for magic and escaping reality for maybe 2-3 hours,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know the story of Harry Potter and how it all came about, the Fantastic Beasts kind of sets the tone for how Harry became Harry and all the backstory. So, Secrets of Dumbledore. Obviously, it involves Dumbledore. you know, let's just throw that part out. So, Dumbledore rallies a team of wizards, witches, and muggles. If you don't know what a muggle is, it's a non-magic folk. So, basically humans, to fight against the rising evil of Grindelwald, who wants to eliminate the relationship between the muggles and the wizards with the idea of wizardry purification. What does that sound like to you, Harlan? Does that sound like anything we've seen in history?
Sounds like something
Similar?
that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything really like that. That's why they call this fantasy, And of course, they have to visit Germany right around this time period. And I don't really see any analogies in like contemporary or historical fact for this. So it's pretty much just all made up.
So basically, the premise.
That's irony, folks. For those of you who are young, that's what we call a lie that we tell because it's sad and funny
with truth in there.
I know a lot of you are digital natives.
Sarcasm 101 right there.
Kids, that's sarcasm. We teach you nothing but the best humor here.
So the basic premise behind wizardry purification is that they don't want wizards mixing their blood with muggles' blood. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. But the underlying story is that there is a very, very toxic relationship between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and how Dumbledore comes to the realization that love does not mean having to give up your morals or yourself for somebody else. Spoiler alert, Dumbledore is in love with a dude. Yes, Dumbledore is gay, and we don't care. We don't care.
So yeah, I think a lot of folks who are fans of the Harry Potter series are well aware that in J.K. Rowling's headcanon, Dumbledore's been gay since day one. However, she never pulled that out. Where's my wand? I should have brought my wand. Oh, what was I thinking? I don't have my wand, so we'll just have to use a pencil. Like, she never bothered to pull out like the whole, oh yeah, Dumbledore likes guys thing and like pop that on the table until now. And so there are still some people who are like, Dumbledore's gay? Which I guess it, because I mean he appears pretty asexual. He's kind of like Santa Claus. Wait, Santa Claus is supposed to be married, right, to a woman?
To Mrs. Claus, yeah.
Oh,
That didn't work. That
that didn't
analogy
work
did
at
not
all.
work.
I guess the Easter Bunny. No, the Easter Bunny lays eggs. So the Easter Bunny is probably female, or maybe a platypus. This is going off the rails fast.
Real quickly. But here's the thing. I wasn't shocked. It was like I'm eating popcorn in those lovely little comfy seats at Ultra Cinemas, and I'm like, okay, cool. What's going on now?
Yeah, I think they wanted us to be shocked by that, or they wanted some people to be shocked by that, but it's like,
Not shocked.
I don't think anyone was like, ooh. I didn't hear a reaction in the theater. There was definitely kind of space given there for a reaction, but
It wasn't.
yeah, I don't think it landed the way they wanted it to.
But I also think that it was because they changed the actor who was playing the part. Maybe.
Yeah. So, right.
We have to.
Do we have to talk about that?
Just a little, because
all right, let's talk about it a little bit.
We're not going to get in the whole
so
thing.
Johnny Depp was playing Grindelwald before.
Yes,
and
he was.
So for future people who may be watching this in the archives, at this very moment, there is a court case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I believe they're married or domestic partners or something. They're together.
The ex-wife right now, sort of. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
And I don't even know what the cause of action in this one is, if it's about the defamation or if it's about the actual domestic abuse. I'm not really following it. All that I really see is like memes of Johnny Depp, because so far Johnny has been the one who, or Mr. Depp has been the one who's on stand, and he's killing it.
He is being Johnny Depp. He's being Johnny Depp this right now.
Yeah, and apparently Amber Heard's attorneys are not very good.
So we don't mean to make light of this, because domestic abuse is not a funny subject. And
obviously not. No.
Yeah. So,
but again, I don't know if this is actually about the domestic abuse or if it's about the other part of it, which is the defamation. I don't know.
It's more about the defamation, because I think he lost the first case in the UK. But what happened was she wrote an op-ed that got in the paper, and she's saying she was a victim of domestic abuse.
But they had an NDA.
She didn't say who it was, but everybody, like, she gave a lot of descriptive stuff about this person that
made it easy to figure out who it was.
Yeah. And she's saying, no, it wasn't. And then she's saying, yes, it was. And so now Johnny is going up there and saying, I've never abused her. I'm the one that's being abused. And they're playing recordings that Johnny had recorded, or she had recorded. And there was one that's saying, yes, I didn't slap you, or I didn't hit you, I slapped you. Or
wait, who was saying that? Was that Amber saying that, or Johnny?
On the recording, it was Amber. They were having an argument, and then it was saying, her saying, oh yes, you go tell the world, Johnny Depp, I am a victim of domestic abuse. Just like they're playing snippets of things, and I'm just like,
but this is just fucking, it's fucking awful on the one side. It's just, and it sounds like two people who are in a toxic relationship. They were in it too long. They should have left.
And they have kids.
Oh, do they have kids? I didn't know that.
Yes, they have kids.
Oh, rough.
Yes.
That's really sad for those kids.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, so when we talk about toxic relationships and Dumbledore and Grindelwald, they really did have a toxic relationship.
Did they really though? All right. So I've seen all these films. So let's actually get back to Dumbledore and Grindelwald, because
Yeah.
this is my pet peeve about this film. I have a lot of peeves today. So they're not all my pets. Some of them are just like wandering wild in the forest, and I'm gonna domesticate these peeves. They're gonna be my domesticated peeves today. So here's my
They're your beast. Are they
beasts.
your beast, right?
Yes, I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna open up my case, and inside there's a bunch of peeves, which is funny because there is a character in the canon called Peeves, but he's not in there. All right. So my pet peeve about Dumbledore and Grindelwald, I don't remember the other films. It's been COVID and time and two films that weren't really on my rewatch list necessarily. So I don't actually remember what happened in those films. And even though they literally sat down one of the characters with another character to recap the events of prior films, they, like, literally, that was a thing they did. I was like, thank you. Like, I forgot. I'm really glad you did that, but that was awkward. But what they couldn't do, and they didn't spend the time to do it, they couldn't make me feel like Dumbledore and Grindelwald actually had a relationship of any type. All I could tell was that, oh, right, Grindelwald and Dumbledore, right, they were together. Like, I remember from the books, and I remember from the prior films. I'm like, right, they were in a relationship. But I never felt like at any point Dumbledore felt like he was in love with Grindelwald, or Grindelwald felt like he's in love with Dumbledore. They shared very little on-screen time together. Another pet peeve of mine. If you're going to have two characters love or hate each other, they have to spend some time on screen, guys. To all the writers out there who think that you know better, you don't. If you think you can make that fly, think about that again.
I think it was more of that when Dumbledore said, I was in love with you. At that point, I'm like, okay.
But I didn't believe it. And I didn't understand what it meant to him. I think that's more of it. I didn't understand what that meant to him. I didn't understand what Grindelwald meant to him. And because of that, it made the entire interaction between them feel like exposition and not like something that I could really hold on to. And the counterpoint, as we move on to our second thing, there were some relationships in there I could really hold on to, but not Dumbledore and Grindelwald. And it's so sad because this whole thing is the Secrets of Dumbledore. I wanted Dumbledore's love secrets.
It didn't deliver for you.
I don't feel like I discovered any of Dumbledore's secrets. I knew all this stuff already.
That's why there's going to be another movie. You know there's going to be another movie because Grindelwald disappeared at the end of the movie.
Yeah, sure, but
he's going to go. Dumbledore is going to go chase him. You know this.
Okay,
we know this.
So Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I love to say incorrectly. I'm not going to do it right now. Got my own little in-joke for the Bea household. Yeah. So the entire point of the Prisoner of Azkaban is you learn what Azkaban prison is about. You discover the people or the monsters that like guard the place. You discover more about how to manipulate them, defeat them, deal with them when they're on your train or attacking you, right? You figure out if it is possible or not to escape and how that might happen. Like The Prisoner of Azkaban is all about the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is about Dumbledore, but it's not about his secrets, if you take my meaning, right? So, like, you learn
Yes.
about prisoners in Azkaban in the Prisoner of in this. It's like they could have called this like the Dumbledore Squad or the. I mean, they probably should have, right? Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of, right? And the Dumbledore team, or
Yeah.
it was
I
just a
mean,
bunch of people
yeah.
running around at Dumbledore's behest, which is not that different from ordinary films. Like, I wanted to see Dumbledore really get into it and throw some punches, which he gets to do at the very end, but oh, only at the very end. Like, literally, they even go so far as to explain this is why I can't throw any punches right now.
With his little
With his
wristy
little
thingy.
his doingly. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so you've got your like phone charm on your wrist. I get that. Or like one of those. I get
Oh,
that.
you are on one today, dude.
I'm
You are on one.
I guess he does get to fight that young the young guy who's supposed to be his nephew. He does get to fight him. And that looked kind of cool. But it's not that I didn't get the visual eye candy that I wanted from like Dumbledore fighting. I got that, I guess. What I didn't really get was Dumbledore's secrets, right? I didn't get that emotional connection to Dumbledore that I got to have to Harry and Hermione and Ron.
Yeah. Well, I think it wasn't just Albus's secret. It was the brother's secret too. With the with his son.
I guess. But we
I mean,
already knew that they were related from
yeah,
the last movie, right? At least we
yeah.
were supposed to know this.
We were
Because they kept
supposed to.
wandering around saying, "Oh, he's a Dumbledore," or "He's a Dumbledore." And it's like, "Oh, we didn't just discover that?" Because I forgot. I'm like, "Oh, he's a Dumbledore? Oh, okay. Cool.
We're just gonna blame it on COVID. We just blame everything on
COVID mind. Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember.
So, but you know what? I think Jude Law did an awesome job. I could watch that man all day as what he portrayed on screen.
There was a year when Jude Law was in a ton of movies, and he was in like this movie where he was a sniper, and he was also in Gattaca. And at that time, June and I were like, Jude Law is the guy everybody else wants to be, because literally he was playing all these sort of characters who were like uber perfect. And even in Gattaca, he was playing the character who was trapped in a wheelchair because he was super perfect, and he had like been genetically enhanced to be the fastest swimmer, the best at everything. But his problem was that he had fallen into depression and alcoholism after he had a fall from a horse, I think it was, and broke his spine. And so, but the entire thing was Ethan Hawke was becoming him. Like, everyone wants to be Jude Law. That's where it kind of came from. We're like, oh, everyone wants to be Jude Law. And that year, like, Jude Law was in everything. But I'm glad he's in this. He did a good job.
Yeah, he did a great job. So, are we done talking about toxic relationship with Dumbledore?
I don't know. Do you want to spend some more time with that? I feel like
I think we've beaten
we haven't
that.
gotten. Have we really? Because I just was like, I feel like we haven't really dug into the whole toxic part of it yet. Yes, they had a toxic relationship, and yes, that sucks. And wow, does it mimic reality with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? But but I feel like it's almost like too simple. And I know J.K. Rowling also was dealing with toxic relationships in her past, right?
Mhm.
And I have a feeling, I don't know that much about her personal life, but I have a feeling that it was not so simply resolved as just to defend someone with your wand and then all of a sudden the dwangly on your wrist explodes. Sorry,
And they and they and
spoiler.
they and they disappear.
And then the person just disappears. And like I just really wanted to know more about what Dumbledore felt. Like, give me some emotion, dude. You're younger. You're like 100 years younger. Have
I
some
think
emotions.
I think what happened was that he couldn't have emotions. Like he tried to control it. Like, you know, and I'm not gonna put down anybody who's English, but it's like he had that proper English. I need to
Oh,
control my emotions.
that old
And
school.
yeah, and I mean you saw it with oh God, what was his name? The one who captures all the creatures. You know, you could show like you saw the emotion on his face, but he didn't really like, you know, try to do anything, you know, especially when he had the Chengling, like the mother. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about that scene with the Chengling when they stole the baby Chengling and you know, oh my God.
Oh yeah, spoiler. Let's stop on that because that could be a spoiler. The other things
It
aren't really spoilers.
yeah. So I mean it just every other character showed emotion, especially the American one.
Yeah, they did a good job of kind of giving them this sort of British enclosed emotion kind of thing, comparing that to the guy from Queens who's like just wandering around going, "Oh, what's going on?"
I don't care. I'm from America. We don't do this. Oh, okay. No, you're in. You do realize you can get vaporized by like 20 witches here, but you don't care.
You don't
I mean,
care.
I think that was where Dumbledore could have that emotion because he could put it out to other people and they could portray that emotion that he couldn't. You know, so
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. And also, it is a more restrained and more thoughtful emotional story than obviously the earlier Harry Potter books.
yeah,
But also it is a more restrained and emotional story than you get from a lot of modern science fiction. Like a lot of my modern science fiction kind of lends itself, especially the big budget stuff, tends to lend itself toward a sort of juvenile, youthful kind of junior high relationship level kind of thing, which I appreciated that this was more thoughtful and more adult. I appreciated that. So
yeah.
that part of it was good. I just wanted it to be more like business proposal. Let's talk about business proposal. So why don't
Okay.
you tell us a little bit about it? Because I've actually watched like two other things, maybe even three other things since business proposal. So I'm getting a little confused.
So the basic summary about business proposal is two unlikely people brought together by circumstance. Wow, what a stretch for K dramas so far.
My favorite thing, I love contract relationships. I love that trope. My favorite trope right now.
Yeah. So these people, uh, there's about what? There's the main character guy and the main character girl, and then they're best friends, and then friends, and then family. So obviously it falls within the structure of the K drama. So people falling for um outside of their expected class. So they're falling in love with people outside of their expected class, which is not uncommon for and I don't want to be very like ignorant, but in Asian culture, you are supposed to be like, if you are um rich, you were supposed to be marrying somebody on that same level of
At
richness.
least that's the way that's the way conflicts seem to be set up in a lot of Asian dramas.
Yeah.
And I guess there's this cultural pull of the youth toward a more, I'm going to say, a westernized version of love for love's sake and not love as a transactional thing where, like,
Yes.
if you watch some, and I don't watch that much Bollywood, but there's some
Mm-hmm.
Bollywood where you have this kind of flavor of the person who's kind of trying to avoid the arranged relationship, even though success rates for arranged relationships are not that bad. And when you think about the arranged relationship, interesting, it's very similar to a contract dating relationship, right? Where you
Mm-hmm.
basically, but you're not choosing it. So that, I guess, the difference between the way they set it up in a K drama and the way that, say, they would set it up in real life in India. In
Mm-hmm.
India, you would have parents or grandparents or stuff doing the matchmaking, right? They would kind of go, oh, I think, these two people would be able to get together. And then they invite you together. And it's very similar to the way that it's portrayed in the kind of K drama thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's kind of directed by the parents or the parents' parents. And that's essentially what's happening here, right? And then, but I think the irony of this is the way to escape it is I'm going to form a contractual relationship of my own with a semi-random person that I kind of just met.
Yeah.
And that's the way I'm going to get out of this other contractual relationship, which my parents set up, and they know me really well, and they found someone that they think I'd get along with, but apparently I can do better. I'm like, oh, well, it's hilarious, which is
It
great,
is.
right? It's
Yeah.
hilarious, and they're going to get together at the end, so all will be well.
Well,
But in the real world, what a recipe for fucking disaster.
yeah. So basically, the underlying story here, or the moral, is unexpected things bring wonderful surprises. Because I think that,
Yeah, I think that would be true.
yeah,
Being open to new experiences, and I gotta say that's really insightful. I like that. I like that a lot.
I do I try to aim to please in that one. I do have some thoughtfulness in me. So I was like, oh yeah, cool. I mean, I did like this. It started off fast and then it got slow for me and then it picked up again. Um there were characters in there that I saw that I recognized from other things. And I think I actually mentioned to you, was that the guy who played Vincenzo? Because now like everybody looks like
Everybody,
Vincenzo to me. But you said that sometimes they shoot these like, 5-10 years before, and then it. I don't know. It just kind of was weird, but
so this is a problem that I don't have as much with Hollywood stuff. Characters look more iconic and different in Hollywood stuff. So if you watch like American television, a lot of times people will have different hairstyles. They'll have different skin tones. They'll have different makeup styles. Like some people will have lots of eye makeup and other people will have lots of rouge, and some people will have big fluffy hair and some people will have like shaved head, and like there's all these easy to understand visual markers where you can go, even if those two people, even if I don't know them as people, I can kind of go, oh yeah, those two people are different.
yeah.
I don't understand why, but there are some uh, particularly older K-dramas. I think it's gotten better, but when you're looking at some older K-dramas, it's like they got a hairstylist and everybody is using the same hairstylist, and the hairstylist is like trying to go through them as fast as possible, and they're like, I'm just going to give you all the same hair. And then they go to the makeup person, they're like, all right, you've got 5 minutes with everybody, and they're just like pop 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 pop, and like their skin tones when you and now they're dealing with high definition video, right? And they're trying to give them these sort of milky smooth complexions, but they use so much cover on their faces. What is that cover called? The
concealer.
They use so much concealer, they just look ghostly in a lot of cases. And so it's like, and they use the same tone for everybody, so you're like, okay, is that person the same as, and then we have to go to IMDb to go, are these the same people? and of course we don't know them, and it's difficult to like know their names if you don't speak Korean, so especially since you can't read the Korean that's on screen. So it's like when you're watching an American show, you'd be like, oh, I'm starting to recognize names, right? So you're like, oh, Leonard Nimoy, he plays Spock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually you'll kind of go, oh, I know who the characters are because their names come up at the beginning. But if you don't read Korean, you're never going to like penetrate that. So you're not going to go, oh, this is that actor. You have to look them up on IMDb and go, oh, who's this person? Like it's a lot more work. And I got so confused for like the first 20 of these I watched. We were constantly looking people up and going, is that the same person? I don't know.
It is confusing, but I will tell you, good story, good, good acting. But there was one person who creeped me out. And it's because it looks like he had too much plastic surgery. And it's the grandfather of the president who's the main character of the show. But as we did discuss earlier, Harlan, off screen, that man has eyebrows for days.
Yeah, I think I can do him. Let's see if I can do it. I've got my eyebrows like really long right now.
And they're bushy, and then they go,
and then they kind of went up a little bit on the edges, like Gandalf kind of thing. I don't know if I can.
They were perfectly manscaped.
They were manscaped. They kind of did this sort of thing, and then a little bit, and then there was a little bit of a lift, like it had a little bit of work done. Like I'm considering having my I'm considering having a little work done right here, so that my eyes don't feel like I'm all sleepy all the time. But he was playing a chaebol, right? And so chaebols get a lot of work done. I feel like it matched. I feel like it was fine. I'm gonna smooth these back down. Okay,
but it was just
put these back into place.
I've never seen.
But you don't confuse him with anybody else, right? He's iconic. Don't. He's iconic looking.
But he freaked me out every time he was on screen. I'm just like, oh, okay. Now I see. Like every time he was on screen, I looked at a different part of his face, and I'm like, ooh, you had your nose done. Oh, your lips. Oh, I can see that scar. Oh, you got bad acne. It's just like I could see all of that. And I'm just like, but your eyebrows are perfectly manscaped, and they're mesmerizing.
So do you think, and I wonder if this is a question that can be answered by a simple Google search. Maybe it can. Do you think that all the close-ups, because a lot of times in the K-dramas, they'll be like here.
Yeah, you can see nose hairs.
Right now, and you're like, like looking up in the nose. Like I've got some serious facial imperfections, and I'm not wearing makeup right now. So for them, they're like, boom. They've got all the concealer, the powder, everything. They've got everything's perfect. but then they zoom in as close as they possibly can on the lips to the eyes. Is that because a lot of Koreans watch these while they're commuting to and from work on a very tiny phone? Do you think that's why? So that they can feel like it's a close-up shot, but like on my big ass television, it looks pretty enormous, right? Like it looks huge. But if I'm just watching it on my cell phone as I'm on the train, like it's not that big because you're just holding it a little far away from your face, and the head at that point is just normal size. Do you think that's why?
I don't know, because I will be honest, I watched some of it this morning because I had like 5 minutes left of finishing episode 12,
Hmm.
and I watched it on my phone, and I didn't see any difference, probably just the resolution, but I could tell, like, when they did a close up, it was close up, even on my iPad. So I watch basically everything on my
Okay.
iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So close ups that they do in the K dramas, I don't think it's different. Like, I could take that on the bus and it would still be the same thing.
I feel like they do a lot of close-ups though. It's like it may not be any different in terms of framing than
Yeah.
in like a Hollywood television show, but in terms of how often they do it and how long they linger on a face, I think it's a lot longer. Because when I first started watching these, I was like, wow, they're spending a lot of time just watching this person think.
I think it's more of, and this goes to cultural interactions and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm taking a class called Cultural Aspects of Nutrition, and we do the history of whatever country we're doing. And we actually just ended up finishing China, Korea, and Japan, funny enough. And so when you look at these are very high context cultures, um, that they're subtle differences either can be, if you like just tip your hat or something, they consider that rude, so there's cultural.
Yeah.
So I think the close-ups are more of, they want people to know what emotion they are conveying, because I can yell at you. I can be like, Harlan, you are such a bad da, 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 da. But if they do a close up on my mouth or my eyes, that's more telling than me just yelling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Another thing, and I think we might have talked about this before, but one of the things I like about the extended shots of either close-ups on people thinking or two shots of the people who are in a relationship just sort of standing and staring at each other,
Mm-hmm.
particularly after they've said something meaningful or controversial to each other. That lingering shot allows you to live in their emotions for a while and to think about what that would be and to allow you some space to feel empathy for them. And you can, especially in the two shots, right? So you can feel empathy for one character, and then you can switch off and feel empathy for the other character. And then you can be like, and then they still give you enough time to
Yeah.
bitch about what just happened to the people you're watching with, which I really, really appreciate. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the things I thought that were kind of the most awkward when I started watching, I'm starting to realize are actually like these weird open spaces for me to talk to my wife, when we're watching together and basically extend the conversation outside of the screen and into the real world. It's a very
Mm.
meta way of directing. I really like it. I really like it.
I am in I can just say this. I am enjoying watching these K dramas and everything you've thrown at me because it gives me a different perspective on number one, our American culture, number two, how other cultures see relationships, and three, there's actually a way to build a relationship rather than just, hey, let's go for a beer. Okay, I'll see you sometimes. And okay, we're dating like 2 months later.
Yeah.
So it's a different perspective, and if you can have that experience, that's awesome. you know I recommend watching K dramas, not just for the storyline and the character, but to actually learn something about a different culture, a different world, a different things that you might not think of you know
Yeah. And you know what else? Because I had a very, very similar experience. But on the flip side, there are things that K dramas do that are more true to the American experience than you would think, right? Because we sometimes think of the American experience as what we see on television and film. But my experience dating, like long time ago,
when you had hair.
long time ago. Yeah, I had hair then. I did. It was long and look. All right, you're gonna like laugh, but I had a lot of hair.
Oh, I've seen
Yeah,
pictures.
you've seen pictures.
I've
You'll believe me, but most of the audience is gonna be like, really? No, I had a lot of hair and like a swoosh and everything. And so I
ooh,
did date semi successfully. I am married now, so I guess that could be considered a kind of success. And then but my dating was very much more this sort of standard K-drama kind of experience, right? I got to know people through school, and then we formed a relationship, and it went on for a long time, and we had our falling out, and we got back together. And again, it followed this sort of K-drama arc. And a lot of my friends who have gotten married that I have been with them during that pathway followed that too. Nobody I know like had the experience of like Sandra Bullock in Speed, right? Nobody I
no.
know had the experience of most of these relationships that you see in the films, where all of us in American films, where it's like, oh, like all of a sudden I've discovered one person and like immediately we're together. And no, it's just not, it was never like that for me. And so like I don't identify it with it at
Mm.
all. And so I like I like a lot the way they do it in the K dramas. And another problem with American shows is that they'll be like they'll have too many seasons, right? And they did this on Arrow. What's her name on Arrow? Felicity.
Mm.
Felicity. Oh, is that her actor name or is that the name of the character? I can't remember. But there was a character on Arrow. She became a fan favorite because she was snarky and awesome and funny. And so in the season one, she became a regular. By season two, she was a love interest. By season three, they were together. I'm kind of
Yeah.
remembering this. And then by season four, I think they had a falling out. And then by season five, she was gone, I believe. So it was like this weird sort of, yeah, she was never in the comic, so therefore he can't be with her at the end kind of situation. And I'm like, DC, what are you doing? Right? Like, why are you like going through all this just to like give us an unfulfilling, weird ending? I was And that's why I stopped watching Arrow. No offense to the
Oh.
folks who made it. I think they were doing a good job. I think that
So I'm
relationship kind of killed it for me because I was like, oh, I was invested.
so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take it a step further. So you just laid out probably about, I'm gonna say, maybe 65 to 75% of the people that I know dating history.
Really?
Because let me ask you a question. When you broke up with somebody, you know, after having a meaningful relationship, if we can put it that way,
Sure, sure.
did you ever stay friends with that person?
Oh,
Did you ever
oh
talk to?
no, no,
Okay, so
no. Actually, yes. No. Well, it's complex. It's difficult to explain. So I did date someone, but I guess we weren't very serious. We're definitely still friends. We go and hang out with her and her husband and their family. They're
okay,
awesome. But
so
an other one, I like my wife won't even let me talk about her because she's like so angry about me talking about her in the past. She's like, just don't say anything. And at this point, I don't even remember. But yeah, it was definitely a cutoff. But here's my thing. Here's my thing. Is it really entertaining to watch a relationship explode? I don't want that. I want to go see a relationship succeed.
there's
If
just
you're
that a
going to have a
little bit of
relationship explode, tell me in advance so I know not to watch that show. That's all I'm saying. And some K dramas, and I haven't given these to you, some K dramas, they don't get together at the end, or
see.
one of them dies. So eventually, I'm going to give you. Eventually, I'm going to give you one or two of these.
Okay.
But I consider that to be a sort of they're trying to be artsy or whatever. They're trying to like tell a beautiful story instead of telling a froofy like feel good story. And I'm like, I'm not there for that. I have like Russia is at war with Ukraine. I've got COVID people coughing in my fucking face on airplanes. I'm trying to teach my kid how to drive while all these nut jobs are out there on the roads for like driving their COVID cars. And they're like, I haven't driven a car in 2 years. Now I'm driving. I'm like, who gave you a license? I'm trying to I'm trying to help run a business, right? And I'm it's a lot.
Coaching,
It's
and you're coaching. You're
Coaching is
coaching.
fun. Coaching is fun, but it is time consuming. It is time consuming,
Yes.
but fun. Like I consider that a relief from all these other things. Like coaching, doing this show, these are a relief, right? I I don't want to go to a show that's supposed to be entertaining me, and at the end one of the main characters fucking collapses and dies, and they're like, I'm so sorry, I won't be able to be with you anymore. That is
It's
not okay. I am not
it's
there for that.
it's the never ending story, old Yeller.
It is not what I need right now.
and
Yes, it is
and
exactly. Is Never Ending Story like that?
they killed Arthur. They killed the horse that
I
Arthur.
never watched it. They killed the horse?
They killed the horse.
Oh
It's
jeez.
such a downer, dude.
Are you
Like that
kidding
is,
me?
you have to watch the never ending story, and you will see that. You will see that. Trust me, that scene fucked my childhood up. That scene right there. I mean, the never ending story. You're just like, oh sure, yeah, happy little place. Fucked me up. That scene. That is the root of all my movie traumas right there. I will send you a clip and you will see it. It is the most saddening thing that a child can experience. It's just bad. It's bad. But anyway,
Anyway,
I mean, I say I ask you about that because, like I said, 65 to 75% of the people that I know are not friends with their exes. So when that happens, when I see these K dramas and they're all friends and they're talking and lips, I'm like, that's not really reality. We want that. We want them to succeed, but there's a little part of us that just like says, you know what, we need some shit to happen, and we need some like we need somebody to break up and be mad and not get back together. Like there's a little part of me that wants to see that. Not a lot, but a little. Because I'm just that kind of person, like, you can't be happy all the time.
you just need some vengeance.
You just, yes.
If you want that, I can deliver. No, June and I have seen some of those, and we're like, afterwards, we were like, I mean, I keep a spreadsheet of all the stuff I've watched, and so I do watch some, and then I have there's a column in there called tripwires, which you've seen my spreadsheet. The tripwire column definitely explains the ones where I say, so some of them don't stick the landing and some of them land hard. So I could give you a couple.
He's put a lot of thought
Something in the Rain, for example. Something in the Rain is definitely something you could watch, and that lands hard.
Am I going to be depressed? Am I going to be like, Harlan, you need to take me out for a drink now.
yeah. That one lands really hard. It is not. It's full of people who have irreconcilable differences.
Oh yay, just up my alley.
Yeah. So, like it very much reminds me of like the parents who are like, you're not gonna be gay. I'm not gonna allow it. It's like that. I mean, they're not gay, by the way, in that one. They're not gay, but it's like that. It's like you're not marrying that person. It very much feels like that kind of level of parental disapproval.
Oh, yeah. That sounds really up my alley, because I'll be like, oh, here's everything that's wrong with this. So yeah, let's check that out.
But by the way, I want to say something before we jump off the topic.
Okay.
I know I was having problems like telling people apart earlier, and it makes me sound super white racist guy. I swear to you, these people looked so similar. I spend a lot of time watching a lot of Asian content because that's my thing. I've watched Kurosawa films for years, and like K-dramas particularly are guilty of this weird sort of like making people look kind of similar to each other. So yeah, maybe I'm a little racist, but it's not all me. It's not all me.
I wouldn't call it racism. I would call it
unfamiliarity, perhaps.
Yeah.
Unfamiliarity. Because I didn't know any of these people before. And now when I go in there, like I'm like, oh, I recognize half these actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're bettering yourself. You're getting
bettering
more
myself.
Knowledge.
This is definitely true. Definitely true.
So I'm trying to be at that level.
And hey, if you see a problem, you should try to fix it, right? I'm trying
to fix it. Yeah. Just like your stroke. Oh!
Yeah, which gets us into paddling talk. Oh my gosh, I was watching the video from yesterday, and I was
the one that I sent.
Oh, not just what you sent, but my coach Mika, she sent a bunch more video, and I was watching. I was going, oh, my posture, my arms, my body motion is all bad. It's all bad. And I can only blame 10% of it on the 16-mile-per-hour winds.
I couldn't see myself because the video that I was trying to watch was blurry, so I'm just like, well, I guess I'm doing everything okay. I'm following seat one, who just happened to be your wife.
Hmm.
But she did a phenomenal job, by
You
the
actually
way.
looked really good. You had when I saw you, it because the ones you were in, you were kind of far away. But when I did see you, you had good posture, you had good reach. I was definitely the odd man out in that set of
Mm.
ladies.
So that takes us to our topics in um our paddling section here. So the toxic ideas and lies that we tell ourselves. So it's like that there's only one way to paddle, and that if we somehow don't make a certain time in our time trial, or we end up in a crew, like a second or third crew boat, that means we are not good enough for for that sport. That So when we see video, and I'm gonna tell you right off, I am a big proponent of videotaping um paddling, like especially myself, to see what I can work on. And then when we deconstruct, I'm just like, oh my god, my stroke is shit. I'm not sitting up. Why the hell am I doing that? Why am I, oh my god, why would anybody want me in the fucking boat?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Those things. So those are the toxic ideas and lies that we tell ourselves. But on the flip side, we have to have the realization that a bad time trial or a different crew does not mean that you're not good enough. It just means that you'll probably have to tweak some things. And sometimes different levels make the best teams and relationships. So if you are like a really, I'm going to say an elite paddler, um, and you're in a like a B boat that you would consider B boat, like don't think of it as you, that the coach or
Oh,
whoever put you in that crew thinks that you are below what they know you can do.
what a
They
great
just
point. What a
they
great
need
point.
that B boat or that other crew needs either your speed, your power, or just you as an athlete telling them that, hey, we just need to stick together. We need to get good timing.
Leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Those are the
totally.
those are the times. Like, what do you think, Harlan? What do you think?
So that is a fabulous, fabulous point. And so let me let me explain this to any of those of you who may be gamers. So when you play video games, sometimes you play these they're not team based games, but they're games where you have a team of characters, right? So maybe you have 10, 6 or 12 characters or 3 characters that are in your team, and you're leveling them like it's the sort of RPG kind of thing. Um, there are games like XCOM that are particularly like this. XCOM is pretty famous, so a lot of people will know it. Arc Knights is kind of like this. There's some games where you basically collect a bunch of characters. They're either
Mhm.
randomly generated or not, and then you will level them up. When you go about doing this, almost always you won't just take all your low level characters and put them together and then try to go fight. What you're going to do is you're going to take some of your high level characters, some of your mid level characters, some of your low level characters, and you're going to take them together and go fight. All of them gain experience. You can use your high level characters to, take damage or deliver DPS, and you can put the low level characters in the back to get some kills if it's a kill based game, which almost all my games are. Um, it's exactly the same as when you're trying to train, right? So if you need to get people race experience, you don't necessarily want. I know they do have occasionally novice boats where it's just a bunch of novices on there to make sure that they know what they're doing. But when you
Mhm.
go out for the first couple times and you're like, I haven't done this very often, you want to go out with someone experienced and someone mid level and someone low level, and you want to get everybody more experienced. But you don't just send a bunch of noobs out into the ocean. Like, that's a recipe for disaster, right? And so if you're that person who's the high level player or paddler or whatever, your leadership is vital, and it makes you better at what you're doing. And that's such a great point. The other thing that kind of is a corollary to it is, if it bugs you that you're not on the best team, the reason for that may have nothing to do with the fact that the reason for that may be something emotional in your own mind, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with actually becoming good at your sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, so let's take our practice, for example, the video that we watched. So
yeah, let's.
I was in C3. We were blending with the new team that we're on. The adults.
And they were in 456.
456.
So of people who had paddled together before, there was a set in 123, and then a separate set of folks who paddled before together in set 456.
So obviously we've come from two different schools of thought, where their reach should be, what their technique is, and us too. We've been always told to go forward, get the catch near, where it feels comfortable, which is probably somewhere near your foot, sit up, get tall, and throw our body out, right? They have that same concept, but they have different ways of saying it and a little different tweaks, right?
Yeah.
That we're getting all used to. And I myself was getting frustrated a little bit when we were going on that first leg towards SeaWorld and coming around. Yes, wind was a factor. I'm not gonna lie, wind was definitely a factor. It was
60 miles per hour wind is difficult to paddle in. Yeah,
it was,
even though you are in a bay, it's challenging.
Then you had boat wake, which there was some ski people out, so that made it difficult too. But I was getting frustrated at myself because now I'm calling. I don't have a small voice. I was calling, and there were times when I was calling, and when we would put the paddle in either the left side or the right side, I felt the boat bounce down, like somebody was putting, and I'm just like, okay.
That was me. Sorry.
Well, it wasn't. One of the, a couple of times I had to say head up.
I was having some real problem with those changes.
Yeah, and I was like, head up, and you're like, okay, thanks. But it wasn't just for you, it was for the whole boat. I was even doing it too because I was getting so tired, because I'm like, what's happening? I felt like almost like this push-pull thing when we were going, right? And
a little bit, yeah.
And I was getting frustrated, and I when I did a 10 call or a 15 call, when we changed, I had to resort myself to, what? That's my ego talking. That is so my ego talking. Right now, I don't care what's going on. Personally, I need just my boat to be in time. That is my job right now, to make sure we are all in time. I'm not steering the boat. I am not stroking the boat. I am calling changes. That is my job. So, and that was probably halfway towards SeaWorld when I made that realization. Yeah. Somebody who's been paddling for almost 8 years had to check themselves and say, you know what? This is the way it's got to be. I can't do anything about it. And so that I did get frustrated. I got the toxic idea. I was like, what the hell? Why did she put me in this boat? Why? I already know what Harlan can do. I already know what June can do. but I understood after I checked myself. And that's all that we're saying is, check your ego at the door. Check your ego on the shore. There you go. Check your ego
Check your
at the
ego at the
shore.
door. Check your ego on the
At
shore.
the shore.
It's
Yeah.
it's yeah, we're going to use that again and again.
So
It
it
is true in business as well.
yeah.
I've been on many teams where I felt like, what are all these noobs doing here? Like, why don't these people understand what they're doing, what they're about? And and in 2019, wait, 2020, in 2020, I did my first internship. I led my first internship team with a bunch of high school students who were interning for the first time, doing business internship, and we were doing investment analysis. And most of them knew zero to, like, either they knew nothing or they knew enough to really get themselves in trouble.
Mhm.
And I was reminded that when I was in my old job, a lot of times I would be working with people who just hadn't learned something before. And you will find this too. Like, everybody has this happen. As soon as you become experienced at a thing, regardless of whether your experience is good or bad. I mean, to say whether you so some people
Hmm.
think they're good at a thing, but they have experience doing it.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily. So, regardless of what your experience level is, there's always something for you to learn. And one of the things for you to learn is how to teach that thing to
Mhm.
others. And if you're on a team and you're like, well, I'm the one person who knows Gradle. Well, okay, teach someone else Gradle then, right? If you're the one person who knows Ruby on Rails, teach someone else Ruby on Rails, because if you don't, these are programming languages.
Mhm.
If that wasn't clear, sorry.
I'm just gonna
What are
nod
you
my head
talking
like, yeah,
about?
sure.
So, like, if you have never, if you don't share that knowledge with others, you're not being a team player. The entire team is going to be poorer for it.
Mhm.
And when you get on a team, if you think you're a noob, this is another thing that is actually a problem. If you get on a team and you think you're a noob, and you're like, why did the coach put me on these team? These people are so much better than me. I'm really slagging. I'm really slacking off. I feel like I don't belong here. Exactly the opposite of reality, right? The reason you're on that team is so you can watch and copy and do and listen, right? And learn. Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together, for better or worse, right? And a team
Yeah.
sport is one of those ways that it really does bring out those kind of toxic ideas, and you got to pull those out of your brain, like Grindelwald,
Dumbledore.
wiping your memory and throw them on the ground. Whoosh. And you just
So
have to go.
yeah. So commonality and differences. As much as we think we're different, as much as we say we have a different technique or we have a different outlook, and so there is a commonality. We are all working towards a similar goal. And when we're in that boat, our goal is to get to the finish line together.
Yeah.
That is our commonality. I mean, I don't see it any differently. Do you?
No, I don't see it differently. It's you have to find that it's not necessarily a middle ground. It actually isn't a middle ground. It's sort of like extreme best practices
Yeah.
that you all adopt together. It's kind of like, so the way we paddle, we use stroke where we're, let me see if I can
Up
explain.
there.
We reach out and we're supposed to have a straight arm,
Straight.
and
Hmm.
I like I video myself doing my stroke, and then I look at myself and I'm like, all right, let's go back and let's try again. And you try it over and over and over again, right? And sometimes I can get that elbow straight, and sometimes I can't. And I'm really working on trying to get that grab, get the proper
Hmm.
positioning at the point of that grab, and then move on. That extreme, that extreme sort of, I'm going to do this as right as I possibly can. I think everybody shares that concept. Like everyone wants to get the straight arm, right? But can you actually do it? Can you get other folks to agree to do it together? Um, there are a lot of differences in the way we might do things, maybe the way we might get there, but there are sort of like these extreme commonalities that we have to have. This idea of moving our bodies together, we have to be extremely perfect moving our bodies together. We can agree on a lot of things that are extreme, but we agree on them, right? Find those things, perfect those things, get them all dialed in together, and then the differences suddenly stop to matter as much.
Hmm.
They suddenly stop to matter as much.
And I think that is a great place to stop our paddling talk. And now, Harlan, it's your time to be seat one and shine with this investment talk here. So, this is the portion of the show that Harlan loves, and I just sit back and I just let him be his seat one, and I just follow. I just follow his stroke. So here you go, Harlan.
All right. So, right now is one of the most difficult times in my recent memory to kind of hold together my investing psyche, because there's a lot of emotions that come with a market where like some of your main stocks may be plummeting, and especially with the way social media is and the way that people will comment about things online, a lot of space will be given to folks who are negative, and not enough space will be given to people who are more measured, right? So, yeah, obviously it's bad if a lot of the stocks that I've done very well in over the last few years suddenly start to plummet. But it's, and I talked about this on earlier shows, but I'm going to give one example and I'm going to explain why this is so important to do sometimes. I am a long term buy and hold investor, LTBH, if you want to look it up online. There's a lot of philosophy out there about it, a lot of discussion. For me, what this means is that I tend to try to buy things and then I try to hold on to them, and I'm trying to commit, basically. If I believe in the company, I will buy it and I will hold it. And so one of the companies that I've held for a very long time is Netflix. And now I'm going to get into my pet peeve. I think I've held Netflix stock since the mid 2000s, so maybe 2003, maybe 2005, around that time. At the time, Netflix was a very small mail order shop that did red envelope deliveries. It seemed like a decent investment. I put some of my money in it, I put some of my kids' money into it, and it was on the riskier side. It was a small company. It was fighting against some big industry heavyweights. So there was Hollywood Video, which is sort of mid-level video shop. I don't think they were all over the United States, but they were well apportioned. And then, of course, the elephant in the country was Blockbuster Video, and Blockbuster was on, they were close to a lot of people. I did go to Blockbuster, and I had a lot of problems with Blockbuster. That's for a different show. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But at various times during Netflix's growth, they have had 30% drops, 50% drops, 75% drops, 80% drops in their stock value. Because remember, stock value is a measure of what happened today and where people feel like they are today. During these times, there's always these people who are like, if you're invested in Netflix, you've lost all this money. And oh my gosh, if you're like saying that Netflix is a great investment, how can you say that when I've lost all this money recently, or it just plummeted so far recently, and it's just junk investment. You're never going to be able to make any money off of it. Its best days are over. It's never going to do well again. This is a company that's we're about 20 years old now, I guess. I don't remember when they went public. They're probably a little older than when they went public, but not by much, because they kind of went public early. Maybe they're older than 20 years now. But I want to provide some perspective from a person who has been investing in them for a long time. If you look at the price of a Netflix share, split adjusted, on January 3rd, 2005, it was $1.70. When I say split adjusted, it was never actually $1.70. It was more than that. But then splits happen, and then they have to adjust the dollar value down so you can make your comparisons later on. So today, after a precipitous drop, a disastrous drop, a drop that I hated, stock's at $201.4. So $201 per share. The annualized rate of return, the XIRR for that, is over that span of time is 31.7%. That is a phenomenally good return. A phenomenally good return. No, it is not as good as it was back in October. If you checked it in October, the price was up to $668 a share. So now, mind you, if you had bought at $668 a share, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what your portfolio might look like right now. I hope you didn't put a lot in, right? But today you would have lost about or more than 2/3 of that money, because you'd be down at $201.4 a share. But remember, long-term buy and hold is about buying small amounts over time and then later having a lot to show for it. So I didn't buy all of my Netflix in 2005. I did not. I bought it along the way as it was going up. But as a comparison, the XIRR difference between what it was like at its peak and what it was like today, or again, today was 31.7% annualized. Mm-hmm. The XIRR at its peak, which I think was around $668, $670, that was 42.6% XIRR. Much better, right? Compounded. Every percent compounded makes an enormous difference, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But is it the end of the world that Netflix isn't as amazingly good anymore? Mm-hmm. Would I have been an amazingly awesome predictor of the future if I had decided to sell at the peak? Yeah, sure, I would have. But I'm not Dumbledore, right? I can't just see the future and go, that's exactly where this is going to happen. And so, because I don't know how to time the market well, I stay in. And so, biggest pet peeve is all these people who call out all these drops. And they're like, this is going to crash, this is going to not do well. And their only argument usually is, oh, well, something bad happened recently
Mhm.
Overall market hasn't really changed that much, but something bad happened recently. Therefore, never again will this company do well.
Mhm.
And I'd like to point you at other companies that have had, similar drops like this that have actually come back. And I mean,
So can I,
Marvel,
sorry, can I just interrupt you for
please
just one
do.
second?
Please do. Do
So
we have breaking
I,
news?
yes, I just looked up because you said you didn't know when they went public.
Mm.
Um, so Netflix went public back in May 23rd, 2002, and it started at $15 a share.
Right. Split adjusted, that'll be lower.
Yeah.
I wonder what that split adjusted value is.
But I just wanted to let you know
Yeah, that's
that
good.
that that's when they went public.
Yeah.
So they're coming up. They have what? 20 days before, they turn whatever they do.
Yeah, right.
So I just wanted to throw that tidbit out. Sorry, I just wanted to put that out for you. So
That's fantastic. So again, pet peeve, people who look at the long-term trend of something and saying, "Oh, this person or this investment is going through a rough time right now, therefore they are not worthy of my continued investment." It's true of paddling too, right?
mhm.
Oh my gosh, this person is having a rough time right now. Are you going to just boot them off the team because of that? No. You help them get through it, right? So in investing, we don't have the power to help our companies get through things, but you can see what their management is trying to do, and you can make an assessment based off of their statements, either in the press or through their investor discussions. Like Netflix, you can watch all their quarterly investment discussions. I can't remember what they're called exactly. You can watch them all on YouTube. So if you go to Netflix IR, you can go and like listen to them. And the fabulous thing about listening to them is they basically say the same story every time. They're like,
Mhm.
well, everybody seems to be moving gradually and steadily away from linear television and toward on-demand television delivered over the internet. We're riding that wake. It's more difficult to do this in places where there's not a lot of broadband. So
Mhm.
as broadband expands, we're going to ride that wake. We're going to be the first mover in these places. They're everywhere except Russia and China, basically, right now. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, like those kinds of places. They're not there. I don't think they're in Cuba either. Yeah, so
Uh,
so basically, like
yeah.
in any place that they can like legally operate, they basically have expanded their operations to, which is fabulous. But in a lot of these countries, like in Central Africa, for example, there's not really enough bandwidth to deliver a decent experience, but they're still there and they're starting to grow out their content profile. And Africa, so right now we're seeing a huge explosion of sort of this middle class throughout Asia, right? Southeast Asia particularly, and people are starting to and South Asia, and people are starting to get online more. People are starting to do a lot more with on-demand stuff, and in Africa, I think that's going to be where it's happening next, right? And Netflix is already positioned to ride all this wake. They are sitting there with their paddles. They're watching it come up from behind them, and it is big, but right now it doesn't look like much. When that wave hits them, they're going to have a long, beautiful canoe that they can all paddle together. And I'm the reason why I'm invested in them is because that's the future I see for them. That's the future I think I see for the world. And I also think it's a good thing, right? I want people to be able to get great entertainment, and Netflix does a great job of investing locally. And so, like, That's why I invest in Netflix. Is this a great time to invest in Netflix? Should you buy Netflix? I don't care. I don't care. I'm not telling this to you so that you can go out and buy what I bought. I bought Netflix a long time ago. Maybe it's not the time, right? Like one of the, and it may not fulfill a place in your portfolio. Think about these things when you're investing. Ask yourself, do I feel confident in this company? Do I believe in their future? Can I see a great future? Are they riding the wake? Or are they just waiting for something that's going to fizzle as soon as it gets to them?
You just sounded like a coach right there. I don't care.
I
It's like
don't care.
it's like what paddle should I use, coach? Should I use this? Should I use that? I don't
I
care.
don't
Just get in the
care.
boat
Get in the
and
boat.
paddle. That's all I care about. Get in the boat and paddle. Do you feel comfortable with
Although Red
that
did
hippo
call me
stick?
out with my paddle. He's like, that paddle looks really short. I'm like, it's the biggest one I could find, Red. I have to go buy a paddle.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. So what about your second point here
My second
that I
point,
see?
my second point revolves around a quote from Business Proposal that I wanted to share. And so, spoiler alert, if you are planning on watching Business Proposal, maybe you should jump to, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes in the future, maybe 10 minutes in the future after I've done this piece, because I'm going to spoil my favorite comedy quote from Business Proposal. And this is it. So, in Business Proposal, there are two characters. One of them is the friend of the main female lead. She's the second female lead, basically. And then there's a third female lead. She is that woman's cousin. These two have a snipey kind of relationship back and forth. They don't really like each other too much. So, do you want to add something, Naya?
No, I just love it.
They have this snipey relationship, and they both have the same taste in clothes, which both, and they're both kind of chaebol children, so they have a lot of cash, or they have a lot of credit they can use to buy stuff. And they both love going and getting limited edition things. And so, but they have similar taste and similar body types. So they will both go out and they will come back to work, and they work together, right? They'll come back to work at the production studio where they make advertisements, because they're both in like video production. I think they're both producers. And when they come back, they're wearing the same clothes, and they cut each other really hard doing this. But the thing is, the second female lead, she has a really good friend in the first female lead, and presumably other people that she's friends with and stuff. People like her. The cousin, people don't like her. She's kind of a jerk. She's very pretentious, and she loves to show. So one of the things that they'll do in the Korean dramas is to show that someone's kind of pretentious or well educated. They will show off that they can speak English either well or annoyingly. And part of her character is that she'll speak English to be pretentious sounding and to kind of show off the fact that she speaks English oh so well. But she doesn't have an American accent. She's got or a Canadian accent or anything like that, or a British accent, like some of the actors who have studied in those other countries. Instead, she has this very thick, I learned English in Korea from Korean people accent, right? And so she is crying in her car one day because she is so sad and she just needs someone to talk to. And her the second female lead, she comes up and she sees her cousin crying in the car, and she's like, oh, what the fuck, right? Because she's your family, right? And she comes over to her and they have a brief exchange, and she's basically like, whatever, your problems, whatever. And then her cousin She screams. She's like bawling in the car, and she screams back, and she's like, you need to talk to me," or something like that in Korean. And then she says in and this is literally what she says. "You know I have no chingu." Chingu means friends in Korean. "You know I have no chingu," which is funny on so many levels to me. And this line in the thing, and I know it hurts to break down humor, but it's not just humor here. So it's a funny line. You'll get it when you're there. But the the depths of this line and what it means are so multifunctional. Every time I think about it, I can think of a new thing this line is doing. The fact that she says most of it in English underscores how, even at the depths of her sadness, she's still trying to be as pretentious as she possibly can, but she doesn't remember the English word for friends. So she says chingu. And at the same time, chingu is such a commonly used word in Korean dramas that a lot of Americans like myself or foreigners will learn that word chingu, right? So it's easy for us to understand, if you're an English speaker, everything that she just said, which is fan service also. And then you've got the fact that she is aware. She's aware that she's not a nice person. This self-knowledge I just found super charming. Like, I hated her character at first. I'm like, what does she think she is? And then they pull this line out, and it's not that far into it. I don't remember exactly how far it is. They pull this line out, and I'm like, oh, she knows nobody likes her. Part of the reason why she's doing all this is because she doesn't have any friends. And it made her so much more understandable, and I got her as a character a lot more. Like, and I could peel more onion layers away from this, but I'm kind of forgetting what they are right now. But every time I think about it, I love it. And so this line is a Swiss Army knife. It is a multi-function tool that does a lot for the character. It does a lot to advance the plot. There's a plot thing, which I'm not going to talk about because I forget. That's happening right there. Actually, no. I remember exactly what it is, and I don't want to spoil the plot part of it for you.
We can't spoil.
I don't want to do that. But yeah, it's basically like giving you plot, it's giving you characterization, it's giving you humor, it's giving you linguistics, it's teaching you Korean. I'm like, because a lot of the Korean stuff that they'll do in this, sometimes they'll actually try to teach you Korean. So this is very much like a multifunction tool, like an iPhone, like a Tesla Model 3, both of which are companies that I invest in. I love multifunction products. Korean dramas are multifunction products. They do so much. They are advertisements. They advertise everything from skincare products to ginseng that comes in a little plastic pouch to Dyson vacuum cleaners to Samsung televisions. They advertise as many things as they possibly can. At the same time, they're delivering a story. At the same time, they're basically being I've heard the term used, soft power. I don't like the word soft. It's basically what they're trying to explain is it's an expansion of cultural power from the use of an entertainment industry. South Korea is a small place that's terrified of Chinese aggression, and North Korea aggression, and now fucking Russia and Russian aggression, right? Can you imagine you're sitting there, you're in South Korea, you're in Seoul, you're 50 miles from the damn border, and you need allies. How do you get allies? You need friends. Korean dramas are basically saying, look, we're cool, we're nice. Don't you like us? And yes, you are cool, you are nice, you do great stuff, and we do like you. And I hope nobody ever invades because I want more K-dramas. So, multifunction tools are awesome. And when you, I was reading apparently there's a book out. I don't know the name of it right now. Uh, it's about not about Steve Jobs, but it's about Joni Ive and Steve Case, who took over Apple, and how they kind of were butting heads, and they were trying to come up with something as good as the iPhone. And the moral of the story is the iPhone was kind of a once in a generation thing. Maybe not even once in a generation, maybe once in a century thing. It was something that everyone has copied who can afford to copy it. And it is a multifunction tool. And the reason why it is so good is because it works very well as a multifunction tool. And no one has come up with something nearly as good as it. And it's part of the reason why I invest in Apple, because you can expand on its universe. You can build out tools that help it. But the iPhone itself, its basic concept, it was done. It was out. And like, you can be Joni Ive and a great designer, but you're not gonna design something as amazing as that, because it's kind of something everyone wanted and everyone was waiting for. It just couldn't be done beforehand. Tesla Model 3, I feel like, is a similar sort of thing. It's the In-N-Out burger of cars. I don't know if I need to explain that or not. If you've never been to California eating an In-N-Out burger, In-N-Out hasn't changed their menu in like 70 years. Getting an In-N-Out burger is customizable. Yes, you can customize it, but the same stuff's on their menu. They sell burgers, they sell fries, they sell shakes and drinks. That's what you can get at In-N-Out. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
They're not a publicly held company. They make probably a ton of money for the family who owns them, and there's no reason for them to ever go public because they make great burgers. They're basically they're the Tesla Model 3 of hamburger joints. Anyway, my point is, these things do so many things. My Model 3 carries boats on the top of it. I can carry like 5 people's things in the trunk when we go fly. I can do all my shopping in it. I can carry 5 people in it. I can use it to generate power. So my wife can use it, or I can use it as an office. All it takes is a little adapter thingy that I got from Amazon, which I also invest in. And it keeps getting better because they keep doing over-the-air updates, just like an iPhone. So again, these multifunctional things, like, I have no chingu, not only are they charming, but they are also key products that I think if you can find something like this and it's new and you're like, wow, this is going to be one of those, I would say it's probably something to think about investing in. But again, it doesn't happen that often, but you can sometimes find them. Anyway, that's my investment talk, Naya. Was it good?
It was. I was hoping you would do your rant, but that's okay.
I'm not going to do my Tesla rant today. I'm gonna hold that off. I've got a really I've got another pet peeve I'm going to talk about, but that might be for a different video.
You're saving it. You. I think you're leaving us on a high note there, kid.
I think I will. I'll leave us on a high note, and then I'll leave my rant for later on.
There you go.
So that was today's show, everybody. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And Naya, how can people connect with us?
Well, Harlan, they can connect with us via email at writingthewake2. That's all one word, writingthewake2, the number 2, at gmail.com. They can follow us both on Twitter or on Facebook at Writing the Wake, one word, or
Actually, that's Instagram or Facebook. I think you said Twitter.
Instagram and Facebook. Sorry, I can't talk today. I haven't had enough caffeine. Or you can go to our website, writingthewake.show. And we would really love it if you went to our website. We put up all our content.
Well, not all of it, but we put up the most current content.
Well,
I haven't loaded everything.
We're working on that.
We're working on it. I don't know if I want to put everything there. Soon we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and that would be a lot to scroll through.
That's true. But we also have a Twitter page, too.
We do. And that is at Writing Wake, right?
Yes, at Writing Wake.
At Writing Wake.
You will see a picture of both of us. So those are the places that you can contact us, look at our content, leave a comment.
If you have any wishes, challenges, like bring them our way. Put them in the comments below or email or get us on any social channel. It's all good.
So what is happening for the next time we do our podcast, Harlan?
So in our next podcast, lucky episode 13 is coming up. My favorite number. So we're going to stray away from our usual discussion of K-dramas and movies, and we're going to discuss our individual experiences during the San Diego Asian Film Festival Spring Showcase that ended last week. And I say stray a little bit away from K-dramas just because it's not a K-drama TV show, but I will be doing one Korean film when we talk about that. I'll do a Korean film, maybe a film out of Hong Kong, or maybe a film out of the Philippines. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's a lot to talk about, but
yes.
But we, where were the sources of the films you watched?
Ultra Star Cinema.
Oh no, I just meant
K-drama.
I meant. Yeah, all right.
It was Korean.
Being snarky now.
It was Korean.
It was Korean. All right.
Yes.
So, yeah, because film festival here in San Diego. We also have a bigger film festival coming up in November, so watch for that. I'm sure we'll be talking about that when it comes as well. Maybe we'll try to do something where we actually watch the same film, but we didn't this time. Schedules are hard.
No.
Especially when they're only showing things like once or twice and we just can't get to all the same showings. So,
yeah, it's just like, no, I'll do this one. You do that one. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, until next time, hug the hoolie, and we'll see you on land or in the water. Peace.